Our drivers talking to you about defensive driving in the wintertime when it's cold, keeping yourself safe on snow and ice. That's what we're going to give you tips and strategies about tonight, and to help you stay safe, especially for those states in the U.S. South, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, Texas, Florida, all getting snow here in the wintertime. So that's what we're talking about. Defensive strategies, defensive driving techniques, and skills that you can put in place to keep yourself safe. And the southern states, as we talked about last week, have a look at that live stream. And it is more treacherous to drive in those states when it snows, when there is freezing temperatures, because the temperature is right around the freezing mark, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And when it is around the freezing mark, you're going to get a layer of water on top of the ice and snow, which is going to lubricate the ice and snow. So that's what makes it slippery. Think of an ice hockey rink right after the Zamboni has gone out and started to flood the ice. That's when it is most slippery, because you have that layer of water on top of the ice that makes it extremely slippery. And yes, driving in the southern states when they get snow, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all these places, it is much, much more treacherous to drive because it is just slop and grease, and winter tires don't do anything for you. So know that it is going to be much more slippery. Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at for more detail to the questions you ask. Elevator Fan is here. His birthday is this Saturday, which is the 25th of January. Happy birthday, my friend. Elevator Fan, how are you? Tuning in from Monticello, Indiana. Sean is here from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Evan is here, is on the ground. Use a straight edge. Yes, there is that. And my friend Retired in North Carolina. I need some driving tips. Retired, what kind of driving tips do you need, my friend? Is it cold? What is the weather doing in North Carolina there? So that's what we're talking about. And we did, in fact, get a skiff of snow here this morning in the interior of British Columbia. And it was a bit slippery. It wasn't like treacherous or anything. It's still drive around. And as you know, I have the old Honda CR-V, which is, in my opinion, probably the best winter vehicle that I have ever driven. And I have Michelin X Ice tires on it. I'm not being sponsored by Michelin. I would love to be sponsored by Michelin. I do advocate their tires. I love Michelin tires, and I'm disappointed that they discontinued the Defenders for the old buggy, but I still have winter tires on it that are Michelin tires, and they are extremely good in snow and ice. Elevator Fan, you're going on the highway tomorrow. That's awesome, my friend. Excellent. So driving around, I had the ABS kick in this morning, and there is some misconceptions and some misinformation about ABS. Many people think that ABS... Okay, reconnection successful. So I had this morning one place where I hit the brakes at the intersection and the ABS kicked in. So what happens with the ABS, they only kick in when you're at the bottom of the brake pedal. And what happened is you keep pushing, the car's not stopping, and you get to the bottom of the brake pedal and the ABS brakes engage, and they get the grinding, the shuddering, the pushback on the brake pedal. All of that is normal for ABS brakes. And what the ABS, the anti-lock braking system, does is it prevents wheel lockup of the tires. But unfortunately, when braking in a straight line on snow and ice, it increases your stopping distance, and it does not help you out a whole lot. So know that. Retired, we were expecting 1.5 inches in Raleigh, North Carolina, and drivers have no snow driving experience. I drive a 2020 CX-5. Okay, so Retired, if you're getting snow... Okay, first thing you need to know about driving in snow and ice, especially there in North Carolina, is the main roads are going to be not too bad, because you're going to get a lot of traffic, and all that traffic is going to clear away that snow and whatnot. Where you're going to get into trouble is on the back roads, on the side roads, and on the suburban roads where you live and whatnot. So you have a 2020 Mazda CX-5, all-wheel drive. It's a great SUV, and it's going to be great. As long as you have good all-season tires on your vehicle, you're going to be just fine. And this is what I'm going to talk about in the presentation: space management. Having that 5 to 6 second following distance in front of you. I went to the dog park this morning to, you know, the daily trek with Striker, and I came back and I'm on the back roads here, and of course the back roads are not cleared. They're snow covered and they're slippery, right? Here's the other piece about that. Test the traction, okay? Retired, when you come out of your driveway, test the traction. Just check, make sure there aren't any cars behind you. Get down the road, get it up to 15, 20 miles an hour and step on the brake and see what happens, right? At a low speed, you're not going to get into trouble as long as you're on a place that doesn't have a whole lot of traffic. And this is what I did, right? I knew what the conditions were. I knew it was slippery, and I slowed down a lot before curves, corners, and turns. And this is what you need to do going around curves, corners, and turns, because that's potentially when you get a bit of snow, especially there in North Carolina, that's where you're going to get into trouble, is when you're turning curves, corners, and turns, going around curves and those types of things. So get slowed down before, and then put a little bit of power to the drivetrain. And I'm not talking about accelerating. I'm not talking about NASCAR coming out of the corner and just punching on it. I'm just talking about slight power to the wheels, so you're pushing the vehicle through the corner, and that way you're less likely to lose control of the vehicle. Now, I was coming back, I was talking about space management before the whole software thing here went a little weird. So I came back, I slowed down, there was a slip lane, a right-hand turning lane, and so I slowed down, went around the corner, it was fine, and I look in the rearview mirror, and there's a Toyota Tacoma behind me, a pickup truck. Comes around the corner, and he's coming around too fast, and I saw the pickup truck break traction. And then I'm driving down the road, I'm following a van in front of me, and I'm staying well back from the van, keeping that 3 to 4 second following distance, so I've got lots of time to get my vehicle stopped. What is the dumb pickup truck driver doing? The worst vehicle on our roadways, pickup trucks. First of all, they're two-wheel drive. Most people don't have any weight over the back end. They don't put them into four-wheel drive when it gets slick and greasy out. And he's tailgating me. And I'm like, you just came around the corner and broke traction. You know it's slippery. And this is, I'm doing social driving. I'm policing him into my head, telling him what a bonehead he is, that he's tailgating me going down the side road that's snow covered and slippery. And, so I just increased my following distance in front so that I didn't have to do anything aggressive, and I could prevent and put myself in a position so that I don't get rear-ended. Michelle, I have to redo my G1, so I'm here to see if I can learn something for when I have to do my G1. Michelle, remind me, is the G1 the learner's test, or is it the first test there in Ontario? I believe it's the first test, isn't it? And Corey will put up, what do you need? You need pass your driver's test first time for the video on that, and the must-see videos, and those will all help you. Most of what we're talking about tonight, Michelle, we can definitely talk about driver's tests. Most of what we're talking about is defensive driving skills, which obviously are applicable to passing your driver's test, but also keeping yourself safe on snow and ice. Now, the other thing I want to say to all the people, Michelle included, and other people, if you're waiting till the spring to take your driver's test, don't wait. Okay, book your driver's test, take it in the wintertime. It's easier to pass your driver's test in the winter time, okay? And the reason for that, there's several reasons why. It's easier to get a driver's test. You don't have to be as exact on the maneuvers on the driver's test. For example, parallel parking, you don't have to be 8 to 12 inches from the curb. You just have to get in behind the vehicle in front of you. For whatever reason, driving examiners do not like pushing cars out of the snowbanks, okay? Driving examiners are less stressed. They're going to be more, it's going to be more kudos to you because you did take your driver's test in the wintertime. There's less traffic, less vulnerable road users. And most of the time in the wintertime, the roads are going to be just fine. Okay, it isn't going to be snow. That only happens every now and again. And Corey will put up the video for you on why you should take your driver's test in the wintertime. You'll get more detail about this in that video. Less traffic. There aren't caravans. There aren't pickup trucks pulling trailers, camper trailers, and motorcycles and those types of things. There aren't bicycles. There aren't kids on scooters and whatnot. So there's less traffic in the wintertime. So I strongly encourage you to take your test in the wintertime. Michelle, I'm not comfortable driving in the snow. That is why I keep putting off getting my G1. Michelle, like I said, there isn't going to be snow in the wintertime. Most of the time, 98% of the time, the roads are going to be clear and you're not going to be you're not going to have snow. Now, saying that, Michelle, where do you live in Ontario? That's the other question. Because I know my mom lives in Wingham in southwestern Ontario, and they are getting a lot of snow. So I can't say that there isn't going to be snow, but you could potentially have snow. But the other piece about it, cars, as I was saying to Retired there, all cars are all-wheel drive now, front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. They're not rear-wheel drive, so you're going to have good traction. You're going to be just fine. The other piece about it, in the wintertime, you don't have to stop at the stop line because there's snowbanks. You just stop before the sidewalk, make sure there aren't any vulnerable road users, and then creep out until you can see the cross traffic. When it's clear, then you proceed. So I would strongly encourage you, Michelle, book your driver's test, take it in the wintertime. Don't listen to all the naysayers out there that you are gonna die in the snow and ice. Okay, that's not true. Status, Paul, how my friend? Yes, G1 is the learners program. Okay, do it. Just do it, okay? Thank you for that. Rena, I'm taking my test on Monday, but the roads are icy in Winterpeg. That's where Corey is, Rena. Corey's in Winnipeg. Bricks for Wheels. Yeah, but you're going to be just fine, okay? Keep your following distance. Go slow. If it's snowy and it's icy on the roadways, don't go any faster than the flow of traffic, how fast other traffic on the roadway is going, and slow down between curves, corners, and curves, right? Okay, when you're turning, when you're going around curves and those types of things, just slow down before the curve and then power to the wheels. I'm not talking about acceleration. I'm just talking slight acceleration to the wheels, okay? Excellent. My friend Carrie is here as well. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Defensive driving, wintertime. It's super cold in some of the places in the States as well. Sam was just saying that it is super cold there in New York City, but he lived in Iowa for a while, and he's used to the cold. You just dress up, dress warm. Same thing. My family and I are going to Mount Baker this weekend in Washington State, and they're teasing me because I ordered a neck warmer thingy. It's like a scarf, except it pulls over onto your neck, and a balaclava and those types of things. So one of the things about wintertime, when you dress to go outside, stay warm, okay? Put on enough layers that you can stay warm, because you don't want to get cold and then try and get warm again, because you won't get warm, okay? You can take it off if you have enough layers on, but you can't put stuff back on, all right? Know that. Michelle, Toronto. Michelle, you're going to be just fine in Toronto with the snow there, okay? You're going to be just fine, because there's plenty of road maintenance crews and equipment and plows and sanders and salt and those types of things. The only time, Michelle, is you're going to get it, have a little bit of challenge is when you get into the suburban areas and those types of things, but they're only going to take you into the suburban areas to do the parallel parking, the 3-point turn. The backing into a parking space you're going to do at the MTO, okay? So don't postpone it, Michelle. Do it. Do it. And I want you to leave me a comment, send me an email, and tell me that you booked your driver's test, okay? Please don't postpone it anymore. Just do it, okay? Like Nike. Just do it. My friend Eric is here. Hello. And Corey's put up the video on how to pass your driver's test on snow and ice. Thank you for that, Corey. Excellent. So let's get over to the presentation here. If you have any questions about defensive driving, driving in the wintertime, driving on snow and ice, definitely ask me those questions. We have videos. As I said, the whole last week, the live stream was dedicated to driving in the South, driving when conditions are incredibly treacherous because the temperature is around freezing. And it is much more slippery when the temperature is around freezing than it is when it's minus 20 degrees Celsius or -8 Fahrenheit. Okay, know that. Elevator fan. Okay, my friend, you have a great night. All the best. Take care. So we're talking about smarter defensive driving, minimum safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles on the roadway. And in the summertime, it's that 2 to 3 second following distance. But in the wintertime, you want to increase that to 3 to 5 seconds, depending on weather conditions and depending on other traffic on the roadway. And the geography of the roadway. Is it curving, corners, turns, those types of things? Because when your vehicle gets out of line, that's when you're potentially going to get into trouble in the wintertime. So you want to try and keep it in a straight line. That's going to keep you safe. Minimum safe distance between you and other vehicles. And the number one crash, as my friend Sam will tell you, in North America is rear end crashes, and especially on slippery conditions. You don't want to come up to the intersection and hit the brakes and then find out that it is too slippery and you end up rear-ending the vehicle in front of you. So the other golden rule of driving on snow and ice in the wintertime is to slow down back from where you want to stop and then creep up to where you want to stop, okay? Stopping in the wintertime, that is the golden rule to keep yourself safe and prevent rear-ending other traffic on the roadways. So minimum safe distance. All right, for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. And yes, I've driven in some pretty deep snow and driven on some pretty treacherous weather conditions, freezing rain, ice. One time we were coming up over the Snoqualmie Pass in Washington State, talking about going to Washington State this weekend to do some skiing in Mount Baker. We had a cab over back in the 1990s. I don't know if you know what a cab over is, but it's basically the big semi-trucks or the flat fronts. And we had chains on the truck. We were going over the Snoqualmie Pass in Washington State, and it was snowing so hard. There was probably 2.5 feet of snow on the roadway, which is, I don't know, 25 centimeters of snow on the road, on the interstate. And we were coming up, and the snow was so deep, the snow was rolling off the bottom of the window on the cab over truck. And the bottom of the windows are probably 6 feet. So we were basically plowing the snow as we were going up the interstate there in the wintertime. And this is when I was relatively new to truck driving, and I was like, yeah, that's a lot of snow. So that's some of my experiences. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997, teaching air brakes and semi-trucks, buses. I have worked as a driver rehabilitation specialist as well, getting people back to driving with hand controls, mostly paraplegics. I didn't work with quadriplegics, working with hand controls and people with loss of limbs and left side accelerators. So the accelerators on the other side, they've lost a limb or whatnot and they have to use their left leg to drive the vehicles. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne with my doctorate in legal history. And if you want to know more about me, the complete biography, you can check that out over at the Smart Drive Test website. And Michelle, yes, saw my book on Amazon. And yes, it is, Michelle, I put everything in the book that will guarantee that you pass your driver's test first time. That will just give you all the information you need. And it's well written. I think it's a bit funny. I put some funny stuff in there too, and lots of images to definitely help you out. So I would encourage you to purchase that book, and that will definitely help you out to pass your driver's test. Sam, yes, and people still tailgate. I saw it on the highway today. Yes, and Sam, today I was being tailgated. As I said, the story with the pickup truck coming down the road there, tailgating me after they broke traction coming around the corner. And I was like, what are you doing? You're driving a pickup truck. It's two-wheel drive. You have no weight in the back. What are you, like a nutter? Oh, so... all right, so new videos last week. Pass with ease, pass your driving test in Washington State. And, it's more or less the same driving test as it is in every other state in the U.S. Parallel parking, 3-point turns, left and right, 3-point turns, left and right turns, backing into the parking space at the driving test center there in Washington State. So have a look at that video if you're taking a driver's test, because that'll definitely help you out. I shot that this summer when I was driving across the U.S. From Washington State to Michigan. And what else is in there? There's a whole bunch of other good tips and strategies for being ready for your driver's test and passing. And then the live stream from last week was driving on slippery conditions. Again, what they're having in the States. There was a video on Twitter today of the people in New Orleans on Bourbon Street having a snowball fight. So they're getting snow in the south too, and it's snowing on the state line between Florida and Georgia. So it is happening there in the US. So what is driving? Driving is both a science and an art, and you need to figure out kind of on the fly different things and strategies and techniques that you have to do when you're driving. You must have awareness when you're driving. You must need to figure out what things are going on, but you need the right instruction. And I had a driving instructor car today. My daughter and I were walking home from school, and we walked up to the crosswalk just outside of the roundabout. And personally, my own opinion about engineering and these crosswalks right at the roundabout, they're too close to the roundabout. However, the student came out of the roundabout in the driving school car, because I know Peter, who's the driving instructor, and we were approaching the crosswalk, and he drove right through the crosswalk instead of coming to a stop and allowing us to cross the roadway. This is what you need to keep in mind in terms of the position of the road user on the roadway, the position of the vehicle on the roadway. It communicates intent. If you are coming up to a crosswalk and you see people that are walking towards the crosswalk or getting near the crosswalk, there's a high probability that they're going to cross the roadway. So interpret traffic patterns and predict the actions of individual road users when you're on the roadway. This is the most important skill that unfortunately is either learned through education or learned through experience when you're driving, okay? One of the reasons we communicate poorly is because traffic is nose to tail. It's boot to bonnet. It's kind of like standing in a grocery line and talking to the person in front of you. You're standing there staring at their back. We seldom have a conversation with the person unless they turn sideways or turn around and face us, okay? It's the same thing in traffic. And I was thinking this the other day about traffic signals. One of the smart drivers left a comment when they were merging out onto the interstate or the freeway, and they said, isn't it redundant to signal when you're going out on the freeway? It's pretty obvious about where you're going. And I started to think about this, and I thought, you know, that's a great point. You know where they're going. And this is the number one way that we communicate intent, is by the position of our vehicle on the roadway, the position of the road user. However, thinking about that, traffic signals are not to tell other traffic where we're going. They already know where we're going most of the time. The purpose of traffic signals is to get other people's attention, because our eyes are attracted to light and movement. And the blinking signal gets our attention to look at your vehicle. And then hopefully if we signal well enough in advance, it allows other traffic to help us out, because driving is a social event. So don't think of signaling as communicating what you're going to do and telling other people what you're doing. It's not about that. It's about getting their attention and getting them out of their little kind of car brain daze. All right, that's what it is. Corey says you may also use the Amazon Read sample feature to see if you would like the full book. There you go. Excellent. Thank you for that, Corey. Emily, is the G test the same thing as the G1? Is there anything different I need to know? No, Emily, it's pretty much the same test, except they expect you to be smoother, have more experience, and have more skill and ability. That's what they need you to do for that. Okay. Rudimentary communication, always have a backup, always have the minimum safe distance, all right? So what I mean by always have a backup, you're changing lanes, you're signaling well in intent, you're moving to left of center before you change lanes, you're looking forward, you're looking again, checking, double checking, and that's your backup, is double checking. Look twice, go once. Proactive driving tools, social driving. We talk about social driving, and it's not just social driving when we're out on the roadways. And I was talking about the guy that was tailgating me today after he broke traction coming around on a right turn. Yeah, I was policing the other driver, and that is one of the things that we do as drivers on the roadway, because it's not us that needs to change. It's everybody else on the roadway that needs to change, because they're all the boneheads and the dummies driving out on the roadway, and they're the ones that we have to look out for, right? But defensive driving is not just about putting in skills and techniques to protect yourself against the mistakes of other people. It's putting in skills and habits that are going to keep us safe when we make mistakes, because we get tired, we get emotional, we get distracted. We all make mistakes when we're driving. So social driving, it's the way that people drive after they get their license, and it's especially on snow and ice, and for people who don't have a high level of experience. And as Sam was saying, tailgating in New York City, a lot of people do not have a high level of skill to drive in the wintertime in New York City, because they don't get snow very often. But Sam has a high level of ability to drive. He's a driving instructor. He lived in Iowa. They get a lot of snow there, so he has a high level of ability to drive on snow and ice, and the skills that you can use to keep yourself safe when it's snowing, when it's winter weather. Space management, 3 to 5 second following distance, okay? Speed management, use speed to control space. Identify other road user groups. What is the speed differential between your vehicle and a bicycle, for example? The difference between your vehicle and a pedestrian, for example. How fast is that minimum safe distance going to evaporate as you're approaching or bearing down on another road user group on the roadway? Communication. There are 5 ways that we communicate with other vehicles. The position of our vehicle on the roadway. Lights and signals. Horn. Use the horn sparingly because in this day and age it's seen as a sign of aggression. And then eye contact, hand signals. Use all 5 fingers. Don't tell somebody else they're number 1, especially on a driver's test, okay? Observation. Have your scanning patterns in place. Identify other road user groups. Predict what's going to happen, okay? So understand traffic patterns, be aware of what's going on with traffic, and then try to interpret the actions of individual road users as you're driving. Lots going on there. Okay, minimum safe distance, we talked about this. I'll talk about this again and again and again and again, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. So keep the space in front. And I know that people will say to me, oh, if I keep space in front, somebody's going to cut in front of me. Yes, they will. Every now and again, but they're going faster than you, so they're not going to be there very long. They're going to go off and have their crash somewhere else. So keep space in front, and if somebody takes that space up in front, just get off the throttle, get off the accelerator, and reclaim that space in front. And in bad weather conditions on snow and ice, as it is right now for many people in many places in the United States and here in Canada, okay, 3 to 5 second following distance, okay? If you're on the brake to control space in front of your vehicle, I can guarantee you are too close to the traffic in front of you and you need to increase the following distance. And for most people, as Sam said there about people tailgating, most people on the roadway, and I would say 95% of people, 95% of drivers on the roadway could increase their following distance by 2 times and they would have good following distance. And contrary to what some of the other thinking is that increasing following distance increases congestion within our cities, that's bumpkus. Actually, if we all increased following distance, we would actually reduce congestion and increase traffic flow through our cities and towns, okay? Too close to other road users and fixed objects, and especially vulnerable road users, pedestrians, kids on bicycles, scooters, skaters, those types of things. 3 feet, 1 meter minimum, okay? And do not charge them on a left-hand turn. If there's traffic crossing and you're turning left, stay out here in the intersection. Don't nose into them. Oh, you want to raise my ire? Just have me crossing the road and then make a left-hand turn and nose into me. I will come over and I will bang on your hood. There is nothing that upsets me more when I'm walking. All right, drive between the clusters on the roadway. Stay out of the clusters, okay? Especially if there's all these vehicles driving together in the snow. When it starts to snow or the roadway gets slippery, weather conditions deteriorate, they will bunch up and they will all drive along like they're in NASCAR in slow motion, okay? Stay out of those clusters. That's what you need to do to keep yourself safe. Control space in front on multi-lane roads, interstates, freeways, highways. If you're going around corners, do not be going around a corner beside another vehicle. You're just asking to get into trouble on slippery conditions on snow and ice. Okay? Yes, and if you're in the cluster, manage that space in front and turn your headlights on, okay? As you can see in the image here with the pickup truck, you can see the headlights on. But most of our newer vehicles all have an auto setting, so the headlights come on automatically. However, in overcast conditions for snow and ice and in rain, the taillights are not activated and you need to activate the taillights. So turn your headlights to the on position so that people behind you can see you. Okay? Always have that buffer space between you and the vehicles in front. And if somebody's tailgating you, increase that following distance in front so you don't have to do aggressive braking and the bonehead behind you decides to park their truck in your trunk. All right, stopping in traffic, 1 vehicle length back from the vehicle in front of you, 1 car length, and your landmark for that is to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. It is defensive posturing against being rear-ended because you're sitting there, there's no cars behind you, you're watching them come up. The car's coming up too fast, you roll forward, you bang on the brake pedal, flash the brake lights, and oftentimes that will get the attention of the driver behind you and they'll get on the brakes. If they don't come to a stop, then you can drive out around the vehicle in front of you if it breaks down or changes its mind. And for those that drive manual transmissions, if you're right up on the bumper of the vehicle in front of you and they roll back, they're going to roll into you. So there's several reasons why it's good defensive posturing to stay back 1 vehicle length when you're stopped in traffic at an intersection. And finally, in my utopic world, if everybody stopped back 1 vehicle length, the whole pack of cars could move off together. And again, we would reduce congestion within cities. Predict traffic patterns. I've talked about this and said this several times already during the presentation and during the introduction. Okay, looking ahead at controlled intersections, what kind of intersections are they? Turning lanes, do they have left turning lanes, right turning lanes, slip lanes? What kind of intersections? Predict traffic patterns. Understand and interpret the actions of individual road users. All of this is going to keep you safe. As well, know what kind of different vehicles there are going to be on the roadway in different seasons. For example, right now we're in the winter time. Lots of places have got lots of snow. I mean, here where I live in British Columbia, if you get up into the mountains, you're going to get into having snowmobiles on the road and those types of things. So know that. And know the different characteristics. Motorcycles in the summertime, for example, they have tremendous acceleration and they brake really easily. So you need to have more following distance behind a motorcycle. If you get up behind a semi truck at a traffic light and it's loaded, a logging truck or those types of things. And today we were going by the logging trucks and my daughter and I kept joking about Final Destination as we're driving past the logging truck. But we have scores and scores of logging trucks hammering up and down the main roads through town here because we live in logging country. So there's lots of logging trucks and we were laughing about that today. All right, interpret the actions of other road users, looking as far down the road as you can see, understanding which direction the roadway is going. Is it going to curve? Which way is it going to curve? What kind of traffic is on the roadways? Are there big semi trucks? Are there buses? Those types of things. Okay, paying attention to your driving and maintaining minimum safe distance in front. Come back to that again and again and again. You can always control that space in front of your vehicle and keep yourself safe. MIT, mapping intersections, tracking road users. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. This is the place where you're most likely to encounter vulnerable road users. Kids on scooters, bicycles, motorcycle riders, and in high-income countries in the world, I don't know what the PC term is anymore, I think it's high-income countries, 25% of traffic fatalities are vulnerable road users, pedestrians, kids on scooters, cyclists, motorcycle riders. So know that this is the place where you're going to encounter them, is at intersections. So you want to identify intersections, map and track road users at that intersection. And I'm working on a case right now with a transit driver who sideswiped a cyclist going into a construction zone, and this driver was not mapping and tracking road users. He did not identify the cyclist, and he did not map and he did not track that cyclist as he was proceeding through the intersection and subsequently sideswiped the cyclist. He's completely at fault in this crash, and this is what you need to be doing as you're moving through intersections. So on a global scale, vulnerable road users in terms of traffic fatalities make up 50%. So if you include all of the low-income countries in the world, Africa and China and India and whatnot, 50% of traffic fatalities are vulnerable road users. So take your time, map and scan intersections, and keep yourself safe. All right, good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. There we go. All right. Corey put up the video on scanning and moving through intersections. Thank you for that, Corey. That's awesome. Andre Draka, drivers fail to realize pedestrians offer more parking and less traffic for them. Okay. As pedestrian drivers bully me all the time when it is light and I only have 3 seconds to cross. Okay, Andraka, I will tell you this about as a pedestrian with the traffic counters. To cross 4 lanes of traffic, you need minimum 8 seconds to walk across, and that's walking across at a brisk, pace. I had to teach my kids that when I was young. They went tearing across the intersection, 4 lanes of traffic, and the counter was 3 or 4 seconds, and of course it went to yellow. So know that for people who are walking and you're walking across 4 lanes of traffic, you need minimum 8 seconds to get across 4 lanes, to walk across 4 lanes of traffic. And that's at a fairly brisk, little jaunt. It's not like, sauntering along with my cane and those kinds of things. So 8 seconds. All right. Detail, please shout it from the sky. Stop traveling so close to the car in front of you. I'm sure Australia is the worst for it. Detailer's life. Yes, I'm sure that it is, that they tailgate there because you never get winter conditions. You never experience adverse driving conditions for the most part. I mean, every now and again you might get rain and whatnot, but for the most part it's nice weather conditions. And the other piece about this is, as Michelle was being terrified about driving in the wintertime. And last week, Carrie said to me that the most number of crashes happen in the wintertime, when in fact the most number of crashes do not happen in the wintertime. The highest number of crashes happen in June, July, August, and early September. Those 3 months, the summer months, are when the most number of crashes happen. And the United States, if you look at the United States in terms of regions and the highest number of traffic crashes in the United States, the most number of crashes in the United States happens in the Southwest. East Texas, Arizona, New Mexico. The places that get summer most of the time are the places that have the highest number of crashes during the year. Not places like Michigan and Minnesota and Illinois and Iowa. Those aren't the places that have the most number of crashes because they have wintertime. No, it's summertime. And that is another misconception about driving, that it is extremely dangerous in the wintertime. Yes, it's more challenging to drive in the wintertime, but it's not more dangerous. It's not more dangerous to drive in the wintertime. Garbage truck, and he insisted, my driving instructor went on vacation, so he asked his dad to teach me. So on my driving test day, I was practicing with him, and there was a garbage truck, and he insisted that I go on, and even though I didn't feel comfortable, I listened to him and almost had an accident. But you didn't have an accident. You're good. You learned from it. Awesome. Okay. Sam, after driving for 34 years, you learn to stay out of trouble. Yes, you do. You have some experience about what's going on the roadway and what you can and can't do. Not only that, Sam, I think as professional drivers, driving truck or, being driving instructors, I think we pick up a spidey sense. We kind of know what people are going to do on the roadway. It was like when my daughter and I walked up to the crosswalk today, and I saw the driving school car turning right because there was a street just before the crosswalk, and they came out of that street and turned right. And I was like, the student's not going to stop. He's not going to stop. So I'm not going to step out there because I know he's not going to stop. And sure enough, he didn't stop. It was just like, it's like I have some spider sense about what not to do when I'm driving, or what other people are going to do in my path of travel. Miles, just passed my driving exam today thanks to your channel. Miles, that is tremendous news. Thank you so much for dropping back and letting us know you passed. Congratulations. And what are you going to do to celebrate, my friend? Because that is really, really awesome. Jaming, I'm taking my driving test on Friday. Your videos are very helpful to me. That's awesome. And good luck on your driver's test on Friday there, my friend. Remember to breathe. So in through the nose, hold for 3, out through the mouth, okay? That will cause your body to relax when you go and take your driver's test, all right? That will definitely help you out. Good luck on your driver's test on Friday. Eric, why do crosswalk lights not count down timer never seem to be bright enough, and so many people seem to yield to people in a crosswalk? I don't know. That may be a Minnesota thing, Eric, and you can always write to the engineering department in your city or town, and you can say, hey, this is a problem, because they will fix it if they get some feedback and those types of things. So you could definitely write them an email and say, hey, we can't see these because they need to be brighter. Sam, yes, I was a transit bus driver before being a driving instructor, and I saw a whole lot. And yeah, you pick up that spider sense. You know what other people are going to do. They're going to change lanes before they even put their signal on, because they start moving, inching ever so slightly into your lane, or they're going to turn somewhere. They're going to do something goofy. And here's another piece. We've been talking about being tailgated today a lot, and a lot of people, this is their pet peeve. When I put polls up on the community tab and I ask people what their biggest pet peeve is about other people, other drivers, other road users, and it is inevitably tailgating. Last week, I had 2 incidents in one day where I came up at an intersection. Here we go, at an intersection. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. And the first one was just past a crosswalk. There's a crosswalk at the intersection. It's a T intersection. The car in front of me made a right-hand turn, went around the corner. There was a pedestrian standing there. And, kudos to them. They came to a stop thinking that the pedestrian was going to step out in front of them and cross the roadway. But they came to a stop, but they didn't have the car all the way around the corner. And the back end of the car is hanging out into my lane. And I just narrowly missed hitting them, because I kind of, I'm paying attention to what's going on. But they went around the corner, but then they stopped. So that was the first time I could have rear-ended a car. And the same thing happened again that day, later that evening, driving down the roadway. And again, a car turns right in front of me going around. They were lost, and they pulled into the school parking lot, went around the corner, but they didn't get the car all the way around the corner, and then stopped with the ass end hanging out into the roadway. And again, it was like, what are you doing? So taking my own advice, learning from what I teach, you have to stay back from these cars when they're going around corners. And on the other hand, if you're the driver going around the corner, make sure that you get the entire car around the corner before you come to a stop, because the traffic behind you is expecting you to be gone, and they're anticipating that gap, so you could potentially run into that car in front of that's turning. So know that. That's another thing. Emily, it's always got to be the pickup truck. Yes, and Emily, my understanding is there's studies about pickup truck drivers and, their aggressive tendency to be doing goofy things when they're driving. And as I was saying this morning, when I was coming back from the dog park, it was in fact a pickup truck that was tailgating me. So yes, they do goofy things. All right. Emily, I've had people rush me and start driving towards me while I'm crossing, even while pushing the stroller. Emily, yes. And same incident, same thing happened, same scenario when I was, when my kids were small. And I can remember one time, going across the roadway with the kids, with the stroller, and this old dude, I call him an old dude because he was old, drives like right up to us, like 2 feet away from us. I just lost my mind. I was just like screaming at him, and I'm sure his son was sitting in the seat beside him, and he's like, what is going on? And I'm just like, what are you doing? This is so dangerous. And it was, again, today we're crossing the crosswalk at the roundabout, and this person, I was going to kind of wait for them to go, but they kind of, inched forward, then they stopped. And when they stop, then you feel obligated to go. But their front end is like halfway over the crosswalk. And you're crossing the roadway. You're like, I do not feel safe with you sitting there with your foot on the brake and hoping, whatever emotional state you may or may not be in, or whatever physical state you may or may not get in. Some people get into their car and they got like 2 canes and they can barely walk. And people are on drugs, prescription medications, as Andrekia just said. Exactly. Or, marijuana is legal. They're high as a kite and they're driving an automobile and, they're within close proximity to me. And this is the same thing that I talked about, a couple of weeks ago. If you're stopping at a crosswalk, stop 1 vehicle length back from the crosswalk and allow the pedestrians to cross the roadway. It just makes everybody safer. And it makes the pedestrian feel safer, because I do not feel safe when there is like a car hood 2 feet away from me because, I don't trust you. I don't trust you when I'm walking. So I think drivers expect everyone else to practice defensive driving around them. Yeah, exactly. And Drake, that's what social driving is, right? One of the fundamental tenets of social driving is that it's not me that needs to change. It's everybody else that needs to change, right? And this is what they think, right? I'm a good driver. We all agree with the statement. I'm a good driver. I don't need to change. Now, fortunately, hopefully, with my teachings, with my YouTube channel, my live streams and whatnot, that I can start to change some of this and start to challenge some people to make them think and believe maybe, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm not a great driver. And I do, hopefully having an impact on people and getting them to reconsider, some of their driving habits and helping them to become safer, smarter drivers and make everybody safer and smarter. Because right now, unfortunately, we have traffic safety professionals and an entire movement that's going on right now. We hate cars. We hate cars. Just go on Twitter. Just watch any new urban planning development that goes on. They're going to put in bicycle lanes and they're going to take away road space for cars because we are in a we hate cars movement right now. And what's going to happen is they're trying to make the roadway safe for everybody and they're not going to make it safe for anybody. We're going to go back to what happened at the beginning of the 19th century when we went from horse-drawn traffic to motor cars. And we're going to have roadways that are just going to be a mishmash of not serving anybody. I mean, we had a road here, one of the main roads through my suburb. They ripped up the roadway. They put in bicycle lanes on both sides of the roadway and no bicycles ride on the roadway. First of all, I live in the mountains. We have hills. If you have hills, cyclists are not going to ride on them. I mean, unless they have an electric bicycle. Not only that, the bicycle lane goes like this, up and down because they've dipped it for people's driveways, and I'm not going to ride on it. I consider myself a professional cyclist. I would never ride on that bicycle lane. So there we go. And Drake, thank you for saying so. You are most welcome, my friend. Carrie, when we have a winter storm here in Minnesota, the news lists hundreds of accidents and spinouts. If there are not very many slippery road winter accidents, to your point, there are more summer accidents. Yes, there are. And Carrie, on that note, if we took all the traffic crashes and put them in one place at one time, we would have a national emergency. And you've probably heard me say this statistic before. In the United States of America, every year, every 18 months in the United States, more people die on American roads than the number of soldiers sent to Vietnam between 1963 and 1975. And approximately 63,000 Americans died in that conflict. More people die every 18 months on roadways in the United States of America than in the Vietnam conflict. Michelle, this guy, I think he was high, or he thought he was the UK because he was driving in front of my son and we were driving around. All right. I missed the beginning of that story, Emily. If everyone on the roadway had to study Rick's videos before going out, we could hope that we would make everybody safer and smarter on the roadway. Okay. UK, he was driving in front of my son. Okay, excellent. Now I get the rest of the story, Michelle. Thanks for that. Andreka, right, cyclists do not want to share the road with cars. They ride on the sidewalk like a bat out of heck. Andreka, I don't ride on the sidewalk. I ride on the roadway. And if there isn't enough space for a car beside me, I will take up the whole lane. And I've had cars honk at me all the time. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and honk. Because if you're honking, I know I'm safe. If you're trying to squeeze past me, and I have had cars try and squeeze past me. I had one in Melbourne. I had a lot of road rage since when I was in Melbourne, but I did a lot of cycling then because that was my main form of transportation. But we're coming through an intersection. We went through the intersection. We're coming out the other side of the intersection in Melbourne. We were in Richmond, the suburb of Richmond in Melbourne, and there was a tram in the middle of the road and it got very narrow. There was barely enough room between me and the car. And now the mistake that I made was I should have taken up the whole lane, but I didn't. The car went between me and the tram, and the car was so close that I went like this to the car, and I hit the car with my hand. And of course, he pulled over and had a go at me, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But I'm like, do you really need to be that close to me? So, you know, made me uncomfortable. Fred, my friend, what if I put a big sign in the back of my car that says no tailgating? Fred, that might work for you. Let me know. We can do a little social experiment and see whether that works out for you or not. But, you know, give it a go. Epic, one more thing. When you are driving on the highways during the wintertime, try to stay back behind the salt trucks because they haven't plowed to the left lane. Saw this in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania 2 days ago. Yes, exactly. That is an excellent point that Epic just made. If you're passing the plow trucks on the highway, know that when you get past the plow truck, road conditions are going to deteriorate almost exponentially because they're out there for a reason. You're driving behind the plow truck, they're clearing the roadway, and they're putting down salt and sand to provide traction when you're on the roadway. So know that if you were going to pass the plow truck, you better have a very high level of skill and be very certain of what you're going to encounter when you get in front of the plow truck. All right, know that. Andreka, okay, there we go. Excellent. Emily, they did the exact same thing to the main roads here with bike lanes, and I can say I've literally never seen a biker out there ever. Yep. And just go on Twitter. Just, you know, TIRF, Transportation Institute Safety for Canadians or something. I'd have to look it up. It's on my email. I get the blast every now and again. And this is the other reason that they are reducing speed limits in all the cities. And the reason that they're reducing the speed limits for cars inside urban areas is because it's not about safety. We're not reducing the number of crashes between vehicles and vulnerable road users. But what's happening is by reducing the speed limit of the cars, the survival of the potential survival of the pedestrian or the cyclist goes up exponentially as it gets closer to 20 miles an hour. So the closer you get to 40 miles an hour, fatality is almost 100%. The closer you get to 20 miles an hour, the chances of survival are well over 80%. So you're going to survive being hit by a car at 20 miles an hour. Now, personally, I don't want to be hit by a car, and I don't want to convalesce. If you're going to hit me with a car, please speed up. You hit me and then back over me. Please do that, okay? Because I don't want to be hit by a car, like ever, never, okay? It's not like in the movies where you bounce off the car and you get back up and shake it off and go, oh, you know, I just got hit by a car. We're all good. Yeah. Not like that. It's not like that at all. Michelle, my son was driving around and he was driving the same side, only in reverse. Driving almost into us. Okay, so I'm missing part of the story, Michelle. So your son has a driver's license? Okay, and you don't. So is he helping you to drive? Yes, making the traffic even worse. Andreka, hills make biking too hard unless it's an e-bike? Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're talking about defensive driving skills, driving on snow and ice. The first thing you need to do is you need to test conditions, okay? If you're in the, in the suburban area near your house, just find some place where they check and make sure there isn't any traffic behind you, there isn't any traffic around, and test traction. Get it up to 20 miles an hour, get it up to 30 kilometers an hour, and hit the brake and see what happens. See if it's slippery, right? Slow down back from the intersection and then creep up to where you actually want to get stopped. Increase your following distance in front to 3 to 5 seconds, right? Curves, corners, and turns. That's when you're going to break traction. Or that's when the vehicle is going to break traction, because so long as it's in a straight line, you're going to be fine. You just need to get it stopped. But as soon as it goes out of line and you start turning or going around a curve, that's when you potentially could lose traction and lose control of your vehicle. My chair is squeaking a lot. I'm trying not to move. I need to put some oil on my chair because it's squeaking while I'm getting all animated here talking about driving. ABS brakes. ABS brakes will not help you on slippery conditions, snow and ice, and those types of things, all right? ABS brakes only work in emergency braking situations and on slippery conditions, snow and ice and whatnot. they will actually increase your stopping distance. And what happens is that they will kick in, they will activate, because what happens is you're not slowing down, you're sliding, you're pushing harder down on the brake pedal, pushing down, and then finally the ABS brakes will engage. And what will happen is you'll get grinding, pushback, you'll get, what's the word that I'm looking for? Pushback, grinding, and this pulsating. That's the word I was looking for. Pulsating of the ABS brakes. All this is normal when the ABS brakes engage. So know that the ABS brakes are only going to engage in an emergency situation. They're not going to help you to get stopped or keep control of your vehicle. Know that when you're driving. Eric, or even the Seafoam product, deep creep on your chair. Yes, I could use that on my chair too. And Drake, it's probably not coming through the microphone because the microphone there's a word for it. It's a fancy microphone where it only does so much noise and whatnot. But all good. I'm glad that it's not coming through the microphone because it would be annoying, because I can hear it on my side and it's a bit annoying. Emily, happened to me once. The vibration scared the crap out of me. And yes, if you have not experienced your ABS brakes engaging prior to it happening to you, which often it happens on snow and ice the first time, it's going to be weird. You're going to be like, what is that? Are my brakes broken? No, your brakes are not broken. That is totally normal. And this is one of the lessons that I like to give to new students, is I like to take them out to a parking lot, get their foot hard on the brakes, make an emergency brake application, and to engage the ABS brakes so they know what's going to happen. Michelle, yes, he was a full G for 4 years now. Excellent. That's awesome, Michelle. So now, Michelle, you got to get your license, because your son got his license. So you got to go take your driver's test, okay? Don't postpone it. Take your driver's test. I was pulling into a parking spot. Emily. Yeah, I was going to say, you must have been pulling in really fast if you engaged the ABS when you were coming into a parking lot. Now, here's the other funny thing. The other day, of course, we hadn't had snow yet. And it was coming up into our suburb, and there's a corner you can go around, and you can go around it fairly fast, with the buggy fairly fast. I'm talking like 20 miles an hour on a left-hand turn, right? And so the other day, I don't know, there was a car beside me, and he was kind of annoying me. And so I went around the corner probably faster than I normally do. And, everything was good when I was going around the corner. I was, I had my foot into it. I was accelerating, but the buggy just went a little bit too far, and now we have winter time, right, where they put the sand on the roadways to provide traction. And so there's a windrow of sand next to the curb, and I'm coming around the corner, and of course the buggy wants to go that way, but I want it to go that way, and I'm on as soon as it hit that sand, it broke traction. And the whole back end of the buggy slammed into the curb. Didn't slam into the curb. It kind of banged into the curb. And I was thinking, oh, that's not good. But anyway, it seems to be working fine. So we're great. Michelle, is it true that you have to have a full G license to drive in America if you are from Canada? Michelle, that piece of information I do not know. Maybe other smart drivers know this. Can you drive in the United States with a probationary license if you're not a full licensed driver? I don't know that information. I would need to figure that out for you. Or, as I said, maybe some of the other smart drivers here on the channel could figure that out for us. All right. It was a street parking spot, and someone was parked in front. I think the car thought I was going to hit them. Yeah, like I said, Emily, if you were engaging the ABS brakes, you were going pretty quick. You were coming in hot. Coming in hot. All right. Last thing I wanted to talk about is we are launching a new Smart Drive Test website on the 3rd of February. We're very excited about this. I am very excited about this. The new website. Oh my God. I'm sorry to say that the old website looks like a 14-year-old built it in the 1990s. It is atrocious. The new website looks, like it came into the, maybe 2020. It's actually really nice. So I'm very excited about that. The 3rd of February, we're launching the new website. So there is going to be some issues with the new website. There's going to be some students that are going to be in old courses on the old website. We're going to have to move them over. So please, while we make the transition from the old site to the new site, please bear with us. Please communicate with us if there's any problems or anything that we can help you out. The ebooks will be for sale on Amazon as well as on the new website. I didn't want to put them on the old website because I wanted them to come onto the new website. And of course, they will be less expensive on the website buying them from me without Amazon as the middle person. So there'll be a discount for that. Also, we're launching the Ohio Maneuverability Test course, which as I may not have talked about earlier, the buggy, a minivan, and a full-size pickup truck. Not a full-size pickup truck. It's got a short bed, but it's a crew cab with a bed on the back. So we're doing that 20-foot pickup truck. I'm going to show you how all that can be done. So that course will be available. The Smarter Driver course package, defensive driving, winter driving, and passenger driver's test first time. So lots of really awesome stuff on the new website. I'm so excited about this. So 3rd of February. And as I said, if you're in the courses or you can't find your courses or any information there, send us an email, leave comments here on the YouTube channel, and we'll do our best to help you out and facilitate. And stay safe for everybody that's experiencing winter, having ice and snow. My friend retired there in North Carolina. You're getting snow. Just increase your following distance and stay safe. Brake early, creep up to where you actually want to get stopped. Be careful on curves, corners, and turns. And tailgaters, just increase your following distance in front. Maybe flash your brake lights. Tell them to tell them they're number one and those types of things. And, Emily, keep coming in hot. That's a great story. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you, everybody, for participating. 3rd of February, check out the new website. Super excited. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.